Last time I saw you, it was in the orientation program that was held at Aviation School of Technology, and I thought that you're a very decent speaker. I heard the other ones as well, but I thought you stood out from the rest in that some of them were decent, um, but there was a slight problem with them. Either some of them were too heavy or had a lot of gravity, or some of them did not carry it. I thought that you could balance out the experience as well as the fun in doing it perfectly. And I thought it was something only experience could give you. And well, when people are too heavy with experience, it tends to drain them as well. So, how do you keep the balance between becoming very, very young, but at the same time having the soul of an old person?
Well, I think, thank you for the compliment though. I think, being down to earth is always what you need to have when you're in the aviation industry or any hospitality sector. So, yes, I started very young. 2007, I was already on the field by myself. But as you learn every day, for me was in a learning day, and you get to experience, you get to learn from what you go forward. So I started with hospitality sector, which was in a hotel, five-star property in Bangalore, and then yes, when you always wanted to become a cabin crew, your heart is always with aviation sector. You always wanted to be that, and like you said, being down to earth, having that courtesy is very important when you step into any field. It's not that, oh, I've known everything or I know this. That's not gonna help you. You can't go forward with that. So keeping yourself very low, smiling and courtesy is what you need. Yes, we've meet a lot of people which have that attitude, but having a wrong attitude at the right place is very wrong. So keeping yourself very low, down to earth, and should know when and how to behave in what situation is very important. So that you can take forward in life.
I was talking to Binisha, who is an aspiring flight attendant, and she also studied at Aviation. Mm, she was the one who came about, and I was talking to her, and she said I panic very easily. And I said, this is just what you don't expect in a flight attendant, because we're thinking that when everybody's heart is sinking and they're thinking the worst, this is going to crash. You need the flight attendants to be very, very calm so that you can placate the others as well in some ways. And she asked me how could she deal with the fact that she was very, very nervous. And what I thought is that I had no tip to give her. It is only something that flying can give you, because every time I step on a plane, I have this is going to be the last day. This is going to crash, especially when you're going to look like airport. I felt that I might not survive this. Okay. So how do you get that fear down? Or does it even after years and years of experience hit you one point or the other that this might not? Yeah, has happened. Well, I think keeping yourself calm is very important because everyone is looking upon you, like they're looking at your face. They want to see if we are scared or not. So, if I would be scared by myself and it's been on my face, obviously everyone's going to be scared. But, it's very important that you keep calm, smile, and you'll be like, whatever shit is happening is inside you, but you don't show it to the, passenger in front. Fortunately, I never flew national air, so I've always been flying international. So which was a wide body, 330, and you getting like 300 plus passenger on a board. So imagine I getting nervous when passenger is looking up on me, and I'll be like scared. No, that's not gonna happen. Yes, I might be very scared, but I'll be smiling and looking very confident because I've studied that, and it's very important that you don't let passenger know that you're scared. Mhm. Well, smiling all the time can lead sometimes, as some researchers have pointed out, that there's a term that is used. It's called emotional labor. Well, see, when I say smile, there's a lot of smile that has been hidden. So it could be fair smiling, it could be happy smiling, it could be confident smiling.
yes, there is a situation that you should not smile. You should know exactly how to smile, because in a serious case, you can't be smiling. There's a decent smile that you'd be like, okay, I got this. And when like you're happy, you have a different smile. So you do not show that as a flight attendant or a cabin crew. We're already in the aviation sector. You should know how to hide all the situation by your smile. When I might be scared right now, but I'm smiling. So I would not let anyone know what's happening inside me. So there's a different way of handling situation. Yes, I've been through a situation where I thought this is going to be my last flight, even as a cabin crew, where I've been trained for 3 months. I've known how to handle, safety or any incident that's going to happen on board. But I am ready for that. I can face that, knowing the fact that it might be my last flight, but my job and my duty responsibility is like to save all the passenger on board within 90 seconds. So that is very important. So, keeping yourself calm, smiling, and going through what you studied on your mind is very important. So the first thing you do is take a deep breath, just relax and just say, I got this. I can handle that. No matter what situation, I will handle it. So I think you just need to be calm by yourself, and then I think just being positive can let you through everything.
There was a celebrated case in the United States of America in JetBlue Airlines. I think the name of the flight attendant was Stephen Slater. I'm really not sure about the name. But there was a flight that was being conducted from Connecticut to perhaps this John F. Kennedy Airport. And he had so much, he had enough of becoming a flight attendant, smiling all the time, that as soon as the plane landed, he said, I don't want this job at all. And he opened the emergency exit, drank 2 beer in front of everybody and said, I'm going to leave. And after about an hour, the police came into the house, arrested him because he had put the lives of other people in danger by behaving so recklessly. And when the post-mortem of the case was being done, there were some people who studied mental health, said that smiling all the time and not letting your emotions out can have a toll like that. And one day, when all of the frustration of becoming a flight attendant creeps upon you, it keeps adding and adding up. Sometimes violent outbursts like that is on the cards. How much would you agree with that?
I would agree. Yes, there has been a lot of time like that, even where we go through situation like that. Because when I was flying, there's 300 plus passengers all the time, and everyone has a different nature. All the passengers has different character, and you'll have to study them and talk to them according to that. So it is very difficult for us. But yes, we do have something called stress relief. When you walk into your galley, you breathe out and you be like, that patient label, you really need to control yourself. So that's why we do workout. We do, we definitely go clubbing and partying and drink booze and all that is definitely there. But when you come to work, you forget all that. And like we said, yes, we go through a lot of pressure when we go to work. But, that's your job and you want it to be that. So you can't be like, you can't just let it go. If you're happy with whatever you're doing, I think it should be okay. Yeah.
Well, an interesting thing that I was reading, I was leafing through a few books yesterday, and I read somewhere, and there was also a petition that was signed in change.org that the pay that is given to flight attendants be improved. In the petition, it was written that the flight attendants only get paid when the aircraft is flying and not when they're boarding. Is that true?
True. So we get paid. It's like chalk in and chalk out. So once the aircraft come to a halt and they're chalked in and then they're chalked out, that's how we pay. We do not get additional count for once you start your day, it's not counted. So if your aircraft is on delay, your aircraft, whatever it is the issue, we will not get paid for that. So you're just getting paid for your flying hours.
Does that not sometimes bother you? Because it is quite difficult. It is very, very stressful to handle situations after the aircraft has silenced in some ways, because I see a lot of people who want to get out first or get the baggage first, and that can sometimes have negative effect on the mood of the people that are there. So
I do not, yeah, I don't understand the culture. Like, the moment your aircraft comes to a halt, you just want to come out. Like, the aircraft door is still not open and you want to get out. But yeah, I mean, you've got to do what you got to do. Like I said earlier, like, when we start a day, let's say my flight is at 2 o'clock, if that's the departure time. So I'll have to at least get up 5 hours early. So that's 1 hour early reporting to the aircraft, 1 hour to the office, 1 hour to reach, and 1 hour, 1.5 hour, 2 hour for my makeup and to get ready. So that's like 5 hours, which is not counted.
mhm.
But you can't just put it on the passenger because I would probably say, I don't know, dumb, or you're educated but you just don't know, or maybe you're in a rush to do something. So you can't control all the passengers like that.
Yeah, it also might got to do with the fact that people don't really fly too often, and sometimes we're a bit
Yes.
scared to tell them sit down. You're not missing out on anything major by getting 1 minute late.
Well, yes, we have always been through that situation. Like every flight, it has always been like that. Especially, my latest flight, I would say, I'm sorry, but it's Chinese or Indian flight. Like, every time we had to do, oh my God, I could not control the, passenger there. Maybe they don't understand you, or maybe they do understand you and not, pretend not to understand you. So, which is one thing I've started in China flight is the language, because once they know you speak English, it's different, because they would just pretend to ignore you, So that's when I started speaking Nepali to them, and they would get scared. So I would tell them in Nepali to sit down. So which was a good thing, because when I used to tell them to sit down in English was like, oh, they would just ignore it on my face.
Mm-hmm.
So the moment I started using my mother language, they got scared, and
Mhm.
they must be like, okay, what is she talking? So they used to sit down, and actually that helped a lot. But yeah, you can't just help.
So, how do you think we could improve the way that flight attendants are paid? So, for example, you said that you have about 4 or 5 hours uh, putting up putting up with all of the necessary work in order to get into the flight. Do you think that there is a trade union or an organization of that sort in Nepal? I mean, there is an organization in the United States of
Mhm.
America of flight attendants where they can write or put their grievances in. But is there something like that in our country as well? Or
I think every organization has their own rules and regulations. So before you join the company, you're already given about it. Like, this is how the culture is. And if you think you are fit into it, you're always welcome. If you think you're not fit into it, because I do not really want to go into that, because every airline has their own rules. Like, let's say Nepal, maybe they have their own rule, even for Yeti or maybe Buddha or Qatar or maybe Saudi. They all have their own working culture and style, and their policies are different. So you can't suddenly go and change them, because that's been there for ages. So you have to do what you do, because if you wanted to fly, this is how it is. So you can't go and start your own union and do that. That's not going to change. So you just have to follow the rules they have.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, it's sad that sometimes you feel like, oh, I'm not getting paid enough. Like, I spend my 5 hours to come here, but maybe the flight crew is different and for cabin crew is different. So but that's how it is. The sad part. Yeah.
talking about the pay scale that is given to a lot of flight attendants, it's sometimes said that, and there are a lot of people who write about this in the New York Times, the Washington Post, that once they're pregnant or once their looks start to fade away, then there's an element of oldism in there. I don't know how you.
Well, see, as per the government rule, you can fly till you're fit. You're physically and mentally fit. I have my senior crew who were like 50 plus, 56 plus, but you're fit, you're fine, you look perfect, you can fly. But yes, after a certain age, you definitely have to get retired, So But till the time, if you've maintained yourself well and you don't look old, they would not straight away tell you to, resign or something like that, but they would give us certain time. Like, let's say they would give us a month time. Let's say I've, been overweight. They would come to me, the HR team would come to me and they would be like, okay, we give you one month's time. So you need to lose weight according to your BMI, your height. And if I'm able to do that, I get to fly. If I am not able to do that, I can't fly. So, because I think you're the brand ambassador of the company, you're carrying the image, and when comes to flight attendant, I think everyone would have that image of being glamorous and fit and prettiest. So I think it's very important because even when we wear the uniform and walk around, people will look on you and they'll be like, they would not know me by my name, but they would definitely be like, oh, that's the cabin crew, of that company. So it's very important for you to stay fit. Yeah.
Okay. See, there are a lot of young people who are lulled into becoming a flight attendant. You talk to most pretty women, and I don't want to be the judge of who's beautiful and who's not. But if you talk to a lot of people who are growing up, some of them have this dream of becoming a flight attendant, and working in a college is quite difficult for me because counseling them is not the best thing I can do. Sometimes I give them the math. I tell them, look, there were 51 aircraft in Nepal. One of them recently crashed. We have 50. So the position is not really there. If you had an expanding aviation sector in our country, and maybe if a lot of airports, which are now defunct, will run, and we have scheduled flights there as well, perhaps you'd have a career there. So how do you balance this part? Somebody comes up to you, looks up to you, and asks for advice, but you might think, you might not really make the cut, because sometimes it's important to be told that as well. So how do you balance this?
I do have people coming up to me and then asking me that. So I will always say this, everything has its advantage and disadvantage. So it's up to you how you would want it to take, because if you see earlier, cabin crew was not called a good profession. They're like, oh my god, cabin crew is like something that it's like outcasted. But if you look now, I think it's different. Yes, like we do not have a lot of opportunity here in Nepal, but slowly I think aviation industry is growing. But before I wanted to tell them, just the good part, I would wanted to make sure that they know what's the dark secret about being a cabin crew, because it is not easy, trust me. Like how people would see, you just need to be pretty, you just need to be, serving food or beverages to the passenger. I'm sorry, that is not how it works. You really have to go through that training, and it is really difficult, like every day there's like exam happening and you'll have to pass that. You'll have to go through all the practicals, drills and all that stuff. It's you really have to go through that mental pressure, I guess. And if you're ready to handle all that, yes, you are capable of being a cabin crew, because trust me, it's not easy. Like, facing hundred of passenger every day, and everyone has different mentality and they might be looking at you in a different way. So if you're not ready to handle all of that, you're not able to become a cabin crew, because you might look at me in a different way and the other passenger might look at me in a different way. They wanted to do something or the other thing, and it's not easy, because flight crew would just sit inside the flight deck, but you are the main person who's going to be handling all the situation that's happening in the cabin. So it's about your safety, your passenger safety is what you're trained for. So you should go through. I would literally tell the young generation that it's not just about being glamour. It's about all the hard work you're actually giving yourself to that. And if you're ready, yes, you can. If you're not, then I think you should think back, because it's not easy as people think it is.
Yeah, I mean, when I was reading through a few of the terms that are used in order to denote air hostess, I think that is now looked upon as a sexist term because it is not gender neutral.
Yeah.
Now you've got something as cabin crew. There were also words that were used in the past, such as trolley dolly. Somebody who's got a dolly face is just carrying around a trolley. tart was one of these words that we used to denote them. So, how do you look upon these words? Do you think that we've come to a better light getting rid of what used to be known as air hostess and introducing cabin crew?
Much better, I guess, because now if you see, we've got a lot of stewardess as well, because there's a lot of male also who's joining that. Because I think they know, it is not just about being dolled up, because there's a lot of hard work in it. And I'm not sure if you've heard that we had this China crash, the China airline that has crashed long time back, and she had actually carried passenger on her back and ran, like 100-meter, responsibility that as a cabin crew given. So I think now people has slowly understood what exactly cabin crew is all about. It's not about being a sky waitress, I guess. So yeah, I think it's slowly it's changing. So I think people is understanding what it is, because if you see, aviation is considered one of the safest mode of traveling. So yeah, I think it's different.
Yeah, when I read through the history of an air hostess, I figured out that the first air hostess was a medical practitioner by profession. She was a pilot. She was trained to fly, but the Sexy Society then did not trust in letting her fly. So what she said is, look, I'm a medical practitioner. I can placate the feelings of people. I can say, this is safe. If something happens, I'm there. So we tend to overlook this aspect of becoming a flight attendant. And we generally think that, it's the pretty girls who make it. And do you think that a lot of medical practitioners say people who read staff nurse in our country would also be a better fit to move into the cabin crew industry?
Yes, I think so, because see, you just need to be trained. If you see abroad, there's a lot of Filipino crew who's been practiced as a nurse, and they have started flying as a cabin crew, because in some other way it is always helpful. See, I would not say like you're not a nurse or anything like that, so you can't. You just need to get trained, because when you join any company or organization for airline, they would give you training for first aid. So, you don't have to go and operate anyone. You just need to have the idea for medical. For certain, we got our boundaries, like, okay, for what I can treat. So if I know a little bit of first aid, and if you've got like pretty people who's studied in your background is nurse or anything like that, you can always come. I think you just need to meet that certain criteria, and if you fit into that, yes, you're always welcome on board.
Mm-hmm. Talking about that China crash that we discussed, where flight crew had put a passenger and walking. There's a wonderful biopic which was played by, I don't know which Indian actress, of Mirja Bano.
That was different. That was with KLM, if I'm not mistaken. That was a different crash that had happened. And if you notice the movie that Mirja had happened, that was her first flight as a purser. Mm-hmm. So she did her best to, she was doing her job there, and her first priority was to look after the safety of the passenger. So that's what she did. And I think she's been called a true hero for that.
Mm-hmm. I realized.
Well, we would not really want to have any kind of those incidents, though. Mm-hmm. But looking after the security wise, I think, it has gone really vast, So we would not expect to have anything like that. We would not want it to have anything like that.
Yeah, when I read about this story, the first thing I thought is, this is not something that you could teach anybody. Because if she was the first one who would inform the pilots that there is a security threat and they had escaped the aircraft from a secret passage. So it was, when I read that, I thought, this is not something you can train. Some people are just born to become.
True. I agree to that. Because when situation like that happens, so we will have our code. Like maybe every company, the airline would have a different code for that. So we will have code for a terrorist attack or hijack or anything like that, the danger that's there. So we have a different code for that. So that's what Nisha has done on the real, play. And she informed the captain, and maybe their book that says has, because I think if you look at that part, if there's no flight crew, you will not be able to take off. So that's what she did, and that's what the book was told to do. So that's well, there isn't a secret thing. There's a window there, where the captains would be there. So they just slide down from the window, and so basically, if you see, the white body would have emergency exit, which for me was 8. For the normal one is 8 doors, but we would also count the window, which is 2 window, so that would make you 10 emergency exits. So if nothing is working, that's the last resort for us to run. So
one of the things that I'm always astonished is that when a flight attendant comes and they say, these are the emergency exits, nobody's really listening to them. But deep down inside, everybody knows that this is necessary. And so when I get on a flight, I always read the manual. I'm always prepared for the worst.
So I think it is very important for a cabin crew how you're going to brief the passenger, because when we used to fly, it's a wide body, so we're carrying like 377 passengers on board. So it is my responsibility that I make sure that my passenger who's sitting in front of the emergency exit listen to me properly. I'm not just gonna be here and giving you a brief, with chill word. No, it's not like that. It's very serious, because just in case if anything happens to me when I'm, on board, and some crash is there and I die on board, who's going to open the door? You are going to open the door. Mm-hmm. So whenever you brief the passenger, for me, even I fly now and I see, crew giving you briefing about the emergency exit in a very cool mode. And I'm like, what? This doesn't happen like that. So, it's your responsibility that you actually go to the passenger and make sure that they listen to you, what you're saying. Mm-hmm. It's not just the one sitting on the row. It's, the passenger even behind, because you never know what you die, what the passenger die, in front of the row also die. So it's make sure that, all your surrounding passenger can listen to you. And when you say that briefing, it has to be very firm way. It's not like, hi, you're sitting on the emergency exit. It doesn't go like that. Not for us. So it's very important that when you brief, you have to be very firm when you brief about the emergency exit.
But the thing about the emergency exit is that you don't really touch and get a feel of it. How is somebody supposed to use it? Because I've heard a lot about the emergency exit briefings, but I don't know what is the thing that I'm supposed to pull, or how's it going to go.
Well, I think when there's an emergency and you really want to get out of the aircraft, it automatically comes to you. So you will just open the door. But like we said, there's going to be cabin crew to open the door. So they will just open the door for you. But if he or she does not make it and you wanted to get out, I'm sure you will open the door.
Mm-hmm. So one of my dreams, and it's a very stupid one.
No, don't even think.
No, just let me complete my thought. One of my stupid dreams is that, supposing I get married and I have a wife, she delivers on aircraft. So that my baby gets to travel in the aircraft for free all her life. Yeah. That's a sort of stupid dream that I have. And those are the extreme situations that perhaps you need to train for or not. Because there's such a wonderful offer at hand. So there might be a lot of pregnant ladies who dream in the way I do.
Well, there is this policy for all the companies that you have. So you can't fly after certain weeks. But even if for US and all that, there isn't any policy like that, because you cannot stop anyone from flying. But for us, maybe a few of the airlines have cannot fly after 34 weeks or something like that. So if you wanted to fly, you make sure that you carry the medical report that you have, so that you make sure that you're not that weak. So it has to be certain week that you can fly.
So if a pregnant lady is perilously close to delivery gets on board, perhaps the airlines has got to get a staff nurse, or I don't know how this works.
When you book your ticket, your airline, so you'll have to make sure that you tell the travel agent or whoever you're booking airline through, you'll have to declare how many weeks you have being through. So that's how the booking would work.
Ah.
For US airline and all that, there isn't such rule. So you would see, you would hear incident like, oh, get birth on this airline, because as per the policy, you can't stop them flying. But for a lot of Asian airlines, you can't fly after 34 weeks, maybe. So all the company has different policies. So you have to go through that before you wanted to purchase your ticket. Yeah.
But sometimes that does not really make sense because somebody might be going for a treatment, right? So how does an aircraft?
That all has to go through your medical report. Like I said, you should have the authorized, from your doctor saying that what is the condition or situation that you're flying. And then, we will study, because for us, it just, we can't help because we are the last one. So you'll have to go through a lot of process. You'll have to buy a ticket. You have to go through all that. You'll have to, report all your situation. Then there's going to be like, your counter. Then there's going to be like ground staff, So all the process is there. So cabin crew has no choice. If, ground staff has handled and taken this situation, and if she's going to give birth on board, we'll have to go through that. We'll have to do that. We'll have to make sure that your baby is born healthy.
Okay. A digression on perhaps the sort of dresses that cabin crew wear. It was around the 70s that cabin crew were thought of as these glamorous model-like people who just pose in bikini and all of that. And I found out that there is an interesting jet by the name of VietJet where the cabin crew are dressed in lingerie. So,
true.
And all of the countries have, some countries have their own codes. Around 70s or 80s, I think the traditional Indian dresses was introduced in the flights of Air India. I heard that in Singapore or in Malaysia there is the traditional attire that women have.
True.
Is that true? True. So what is the sort of attire that you generally
have? Something that, let's say like you've talked about traditional wear, which is because they're flying the national carrier airline. Even if you've seen Nepal Airways, they have baku or sari. And, but looking after all that safety and your comfort, they would either tell you to wear pants or skirt. Mm-hmm. So that is, I think, all over the country. Yeah, so you can either wear pant or skirt according to the airline policies. Mm-hmm. So whatever uniform they give, you'll have to wear that.
Yeah, I recently heard that there was an airlines in the United Kingdom which allowed flight attendants to wear trousers, and I thought that would be really comfortable.
We do have new airline, even that says my airline. You're allowed to wear pants, and you're wearing sneakers or something like that. Because it's all about comfort and style. So, but if anyone would have to imagine cabin crew, definitely wanted to have that glamorous look on you, where you're wearing skirt or pant and dragging your bag and walking in ramps and airports. So would definitely be skirt or pant as a comfort, because I can't imagine wearing a sari and if there's any emergency and me running in a sari, which is
no. It just happens in Hindi movies, right?
Yes. Well, that's only in the movies though. But people will be like, why skirt? Like, it's not safe. Well, even the skirt, like that my airline had before, you just need to tear the skirt and run, because that's how the uniform is made, and it would not catch fire easily. Or it is made in such a way that you're wearing compression top, which is comfort for you. So it's all considered that way. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think uniform also does play a very important role for your safety wise. Yeah.
There is also a lot of talk. You touched upon this previously about the airlines giving you a certain time frame just to get your body in the right proportion to fit in the BMI.
True.
But don't you think that some there might be a genetic case where a person can't really get in shape? We saw this with a great footballer by the name of Ronaldo Nazario. He was from Brazil. Mm-hmm. Around the later parts of his career, he put on a lot of weight. He was a laughing stock in the footballing community. That profession that requires such levels of fitness as a player was running around with a big regurgitating stomach, and we later found out that he was diagnosed with a particular medical condition which didn't allow him to get slim. So there are a few people, and every sector has its own critics, but there are fat shaming is something that's becoming very popular. People who think that perhaps airlines is someone who's involved in fat shaming someone very, very implicitly. Is that true? Or how much credence do
Well,
you
I
give it?
think, like I said, being physically fit is very important because if you look at the aisle of the aircraft, it's very small.
Mhm.
So it's very important that you can fit actually in that. So
Ah.
according to your height, your BMI, your weight has to be proportional to that. So
Mhm.
I mean, for me, I'm 5'4", and you can't be expecting me to be 70 kg, which is
Mm.
going to be overweight.
Mm.
So that's going to be affecting my physics, so I could get heart attack or, some other disease can
Mhm.
happen. So you can't be expecting me, being fat
And running
and
around.
running around in the aisle, which is
Mhm.
not possible. So, and it, because our first thing that comes into our mind is safety,
Mhm.
and the service part is secondary, so that's why cabin crew has been hired, and you can't be having someone who's a bit obsessed or
Obese.
something like that. And how are you going to be saving other passenger in case of any emergency? So our first priority would be safety.
Yeah, one of the things that concerns me whenever I travel in an aircraft, and this is because I'm not someone who's got a terrible amount of weight, is that somebody might be 80 or 90 kilograms and they can take, say, 15 kilos of baggage. I happen to be 61. I think that the airlines should allow a lot more leverage on that. So why is that not really calculating if the weight really comes into consideration? Say I'm buying a ticket. There are 100 people like me. For example, if most of them are overweight, it's going to be a serious threat. So is this also looked upon, or is this something that I do not know?
I think they've still been working on that. So like I said, I still don't understand, but I don't know, like I would just avoid that because let the company or the policies do the job. I wouldn't.
Yeah, okay, I'm not particularly touching upon the company policies, and this is not to denigrate any airlines, but it's just a general stupid
Yeah,
thought that I have, which a lot of other people also
I
voice.
do. Well, I think it's everything's become so commercial. Maybe they just want to make money out of everything. So maybe because of that.
Okay. There was this interesting case of Vesna Vilovic, I think that's what her name is.
Mhm.
She's remembered as a very important figure in the flight attendant community. She was someone from Serbia, and she happened to survive a fall of about 12,000 meters. The plane crashed, there was a briefcase, there was an explosion, she crashed, was paralyzed, waist down. She had no idea that the crash even took place because all of the memory was wiped out. It was only about 2 weeks or so later that she found a newspaper with her photograph showing that, this is the lady who survived such a high fall. She wanted to come back to become a flight attendant because, as she said, she had no idea that she had even fallen. She was quite limpish, but was able to continue the job. But the airline said, no, we want you doing the desk job. We don't want to take you. We don't want to take you through further trouble. I studied about the later parts of her life, and I found out that she had something known as survivor's guilt. She felt as if every person in the aircraft died, I should have died with them. There's nothing really special about me that I should have survived. And it was this mental pressure of the survivor's guilt which sort of killed her in the end. So, is there some dark part like this we don't know about the flight attendants or cabin crew in general?
No, I think it's just your luck. Like I said earlier, you being positive is very important. There has been an incident with me when I was a cabin crew, and I did think that was it. That was my last flight, and I'm not gonna make it. And well, I'm not sure I've told this to anyone, but I did write a letter, to my family saying goodbye. Now I think it's kind of funny, but if I had to go back to that situation, it was very, I would get goosebumps. But yes, I thought that was it. I wouldn't make it. And well, the worst when it comes to the part is like when captain would call you and say, prepare, for crash landing. And I was like, that's it. I never got a chance to say goodbye to my family. And, I was sitting on my emergency row and I was preparing myself. Okay. I thought about all my family members, okay, I'm going to die. And then suddenly, something just came out and I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. I'm going to survive no matter what. I fall from 40,000 feet. I will survive. And I'm going to make this flight. I'm sure I'm going to survive. So that's what I kept thinking, all the time, because, there's nothing I can do because I don't even know where we were, like 40,000 feet above. And I was like, okay, but I'm smiling, because everyone is looking upon you. And if I am scared, everyone's going to get scared. That's what I thought, like, okay, this is my job. I'm going to be prepared. So I looked at my door, okay, the emergency exit door, and I'm like, okay, if anything happens, I'm going to open this door, all full. I went back to my academic days and I'm like, okay, I'm going to open the door. I'm going to survive. I'm going to survive. I'm going to survive. My letter is still there, inside my hidden pocket. And I'm like, I would not need this because I'm going to go back, I'm going to land, and I'm going to tell my parents, hey, I've landed safely. And yes, luckily, it's a very bad that turbulence, this situation that we had. We could not land. It was only like 3 trial that my captain has done, and I'm like just praying we just make it. Let's hope we make it. It was a situation where everyone, all my passengers, started praying, and I was like, okay, I'm still gonna make it. I'm still gonna make it, and I think, yeah, I mean, it's just luck that you would survive, but you never know, but you still can't let the hope go. So you just pray. I'm not sure if there was an incident that has happened, for one of my flights. So I was taking off to Sydney 7 o'clock in the morning. So we departed at 7, and we had no idea what is happening. It's never 9 hours flight. You're busy, you're doing your shift, you're, busy serving the passenger, you're doing what you have to do as your job. And we land on Sydney, and all the passengers disembark because we have no idea what is happening outside the world, because we've been flying for 9 hours. And we're out of the aircraft, and my phone was off. Definitely, it's on flight mode. So like you switch on your phone, and I get thousands of messages and calls, and there's so many missed calls, and I'm like, what is happening? Like, I've never had this before. And then my pilots, they come down and like, okay, we had an incident. One of our aircraft that crashed, and no one survived. And it was 6 in the morning that the incident took place. I'm not sure Aviation like went straight down to the ocean, and there's no survival. And it's 8 Asia, so everyone thought I was one of them. So that's why, you get to see all those messages, and I'm like, I was scared. So we just calmed down. So we walked around, and there's a reporter there waiting for you to know what's happening. We don't speak, we just go. And then the first thing that I remember, I called my mom and my parents, and I'm like, I'm fine, I'm okay. I've landed in Sydney. And they're like, no, just come back home. You don't want us to be flying. Just get back home, pack your stuff and come back and blah, blah. And I'm like, it's okay, if it is meant to be, it will happen. If it is not meant to be, it will not happen. I could just die walking, crossing the road.
Yes, and somebody could fall 12,000 meters.
Yeah, and still be alive. And, I think she was only one of the crew that was alive among all the passengers. I think she was only the survivor.
Yeah, she still holds a Guinness book
records
for that.
So if you're not meant to, you're not meant to. So that's what I would say. And I was telling my parents, and well, I'm not sure like how people wanted to take that, but if it is not meant to be, you don't die.
There was this. You remind me of this great slogan by a cabin crew of Icelandic Air. She later happened to become the Prime Minister of Iceland. She'd say, my time has come. That was her slogan. So when your time has come,
True.
You're going to be down and dusted no matter how hard you try to survive. So are there any particular heroes that you looked upon when you were a kid, maybe near Jabano or somebody. Now the biopic has been made, and there are a lot of people who say, I want to be like that. I want to be a divine figure. Because I was talking to Benisha yesterday, and and I asked her, why do you want to become a flight attendant? And she said, look, flight attendants look like divine figure to me. So are these people really divine, or it's just a general perception that sometimes the aircraft or the flyers can give you, or maybe there are fancy postcards and there are very good cameramen who give this illusion that these are divine figures?
Could be.
Mm-hmm.
But, when I was when I was younger, I always wanted to become, into aviation sector. Not that, I had any hero fever or anything like that, but I would always imagine myself walking, inside the aircraft and carrying that bag and, walking around, traveling the world and being places. I would always look at the aircraft flying, when I was young. And I would always want it to be like, I wanted to be, somewhere there. And yeah, it does really matter when you love so much something and then you really wanted to become. I think, it just happened.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Mm-hmm. So you were earlier talking about how you wrote a letter.
Yes.
Well, sometimes people can get really superstitious, right? There are many cricketers who first put on the pad of the left leg side first,
mm-hmm.
before dotting on the pad of the right. Sometimes you see people wearing the left sock first.
Mm-hmm.
They always do it as a ritual. So did you have a ritual like that, a superstition of that sort, that if I don't do this, maybe I won't make this flight again?
No, I did not. It just came out, So, like I said earlier, when Captain said, prepare for the worst, prepare for crash landing. And I was like, that's it. Okay, maybe, if I do not make it, or maybe definitely they would find me through the uniform. Okay, that's going to be them. But so, I just wanted to say goodbye to my love, stupid. And I'm like, no, this is not going to happen. So, yeah, it's not like that, but, it's very weird. I always used to dream about, my flight getting crashed every time I used to go for flight. And every time I used to have those dreams, my flight would be delayed, or there would be some technical problem or some other issue that would happen. And I would be like, I just had a dream, where my aircraft crashed. And okay, so this is what I've always, it used to be very scary, when you used to see all those dreams. And, you're like already on the runway and your aircraft has to come back to the parking bay because there's some technical issue. And your flight is delayed for like 1.5 hours or 2 hours, or you'll have to change the aircraft. And I'll be like, thank God, okay, this has happened. But I used to tell my mom, I hate this kind of dreams, because every time I see this kind of dream, there's some other thing happening. Mm-hmm. And I would just ignore. I wanted to be like, I wanted to ignore that, but, it just comes to you. So.
Well, maybe you are the divine one.
Maybe, yeah. But, it's very scary when you have to see these dreams where your aircraft is getting crashed, and then you go for flight, and then your flight has got some problems, So, in a way, it's lucky. In a way, it's I would say, like, there's advantage and disadvantage for both. So, I don't know how I would want to take that. But yeah, now that I do see sometimes all these crashes, dreams, and sadly, my last dream that I saw crash, that was for Yeti, the recent one that crashed, and that was like really scary. I'm like, I don't want it to know anything like that.
You actually saw that.
I did see.
You had a vision.
Yeah, and
somebody would tell you God.
I did not want to share my dreams to anyone. I just wanted to erase all that. Mm-hmm. But it just comes. And the first thing I would be like, I would Google, like, what does my dream mean? Mm-hmm. And, when you see something like that, it's kind of scary. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so.
So how long has it been since you've been in AirAsia?
For 6 years.
For 6 years. Mm-hmm. And how long do they allow other people, someone like you, to carry on with their careers? How long will you?
Till you're fit and, physically fit and fine, you're mentally fit again.
Okay, one last question.
Yeah.
There was a pilot who flew AirAsia. I think his name was Taneja, somebody like that, and he later on became a great figure in the YouTube community because he talked a lot about flights. And one of the reasons that he stated when leaving Air Asia is that he said, well, we're always running on low fuel because it's thought of as an aircraft which saves a lot of money, and it has been voted for a lot of time as the best low-budget air carrier. He said, look, I don't want to run the risk of taking flights in such low fuel when I know that I'm putting in, I'm sort of endangering the lives of so many people. Sometimes you might have instances where your values run directly at crossroads with what the organization is telling you. And how do you get across that boundary? Well, because that is something that has always plagued me. Whenever I see a problem with my values and it sort of doesn't align properly with the organization, that I tend to leave it at the moment that I think that it's not good enough. But sometimes you do have to stick with it. How is that phase? If you face that is.
Well, I wasn't aware of that, because I think every department has their own role play. So for cabin crew department was, we are really unaware of all that situation that's there. So for us, I think our organization, I would say Aviation X, because I was flying through the main hub, which is in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. They really took care of, cabin crew. Because I wanted to become a cabin crew and I choose to be in that airline. So you can't be really complaining about, small things. But if you really look on, on the other side, I think they really took care of, about the cabin crew or the pilot, even the CEO was, big time involved in that. And I think it is a big happy family. So I'm really not sure on that part.
Okay. Ma'am, it was wonderful talking to you. I hope that we get to do this again.
Yes.
And now we've got to finish our cup of coffee. And if you keep talking, your coffee is going to be there for as long as it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.